I want you to imagine for a second how different your life would look if you landed a dream job and worked for a founder that you absolutely respected and somebody who you're already following at the moment on YouTube, podcasts, across all their different platforms. And what if I could tell you that you could achieve all of this without actually applying for a single job application and go under the radar? Welcome to my channel. My name is Anna Zeng, and this is my story of how I landed a job with Shark Tank's Sabri Suby. Instead of actually imagining this scenario, I want you to know that this is real, and if it can happen to me, it can absolutely happen to you. Now in this video, stay tuned because I'm actually going to walk you through my step-by-step tactics and take away what you can and mold it into your own. Now, Sabri is probably very popular at the moment, but back then in 2018, 2019, by the time I had discovered him on YouTube, very similar to how you're watching this video now, he only had 6 videos. This is my very first video. But back then, nobody knew who he was, let alone in America. He was only very small in Australia. But back then, even back then, I knew that there was something just a little bit different about him, something a little bit unique about the way that he spoke. He was very bold and very confident, but you could tell there was something of substance about him. And in the interview that I saw between himself and also Grant Cardone, love him or hate him, Grant Cardone, one thing you can say about him is that study his family. His family completely adore him. He's family first. His wife adores him, and the 2 children, the 2 daughters adore him as well. How many people do you know? How many business owners do you know that have that unit where they take the family with them everywhere they go and all of them are lifted up? That's what I liked. And that's what I saw in Sabri as well. I thought, look, if there's a chance of somebody in Australia that has somewhat similar values, family values to Grant Cardone, then I want to meet this person. I want to have a chance to meet this person, and I want to have a chance to work for that person. At the time, I was actually living in Auckland in New Zealand at the time. So it was a risk for me to actually go over to Australia, to Melbourne, and to have this interview. So as I mentioned before, I didn't actually apply for a job. I said, I'm not going to go apply for this job. I don't even think they're looking. In fact, I don't even remember applying, but all I knew was I'm going to find this person's email. And there's software now. Back then you had to guess, back then you had to kind of trawl through Google and find their email and hope that this was one of those. And back then I knew that, okay, not only am I going to have to work on my written copywriting, I'm going to have to work on the email title and then the long form email. Number 1, make sure your email has a spark of intrigue. You're not just talking about yourself. You're not just talking about how much you love them. Find some areas in their videos, in their websites, in their teams, for example. How can you actually help them? How can you actually insert yourself into them? Find 3 things that you can help that particular business or that sales department drive more revenue. This is the most important thing. The number 2 thing that I did was I made a Loom video. So I wanted to see that he could see that I could speak about how I was going to help him, not only in the written form, but also in the sales front as well. And from there, within a couple of days, I got a response back from him. Very, very short. And it said, sent through to my GM. So his GM was attached as well. And I won't mention any names because you're going to have to do all this by yourself. And in fact, potentially Sabri is too big now. If you have a look at some of his videos at this time, when I'm releasing this video, some of his videos are in 200, 300k. So I would say that it's probably very hard or very late in the game to apply for somebody like that. But find in your country, find in your city, find the next Sabri, find the next person who you think is an upcomer. Develop the eye to see that. Develop the eye for something that, this particular person, I like the way that they think, I like their values, and they don't have too high of a sub. I'm going to go see if I can add value and wait for that boom to come. Because I can tell you that joining somebody like a Category King, back then it wasn't Category King, it was just, a DM agency or digital marketing agency. It's only as the years went by, it became the name that it is now. But back then it wasn't like that. Put yourself in that position where you can find something like that so that in the years to come, you can eat for the rest of your life off of that name, off of that reputation, off of that recognition, right? Find yourself like that. and never speak poorly of that opportunity. You'll never find me say anything bad about any of my team members, any of my managers, or even Sabri. Because why? First of all, they gave you the opportunity to learn and to earn. Why would you say anything bad about them? It's not good habit. So don't be that person. Have a very good energy, and also you are still an extension of that brand for years and years to come. Make sure that they speak highly of you and you speak highly of them, so that it carries. Like, you still represent that brand till this day. I still represent his brand till this day, because I want people to know that he's a legit operator, and it was a complete honor to work for him. Because having one category king, you will not want to work for anybody else after that. You know what happens after category king? You'll probably, head up a couple of sales teams, and then you're going to go start your own thing, because you will not tolerate anything less than perfect at that point. But I'll go through more of that later. Back to the story of after he CCs me in through the GM, the GM says, thanks, Anna, but we currently don't have a HR manager at the moment. We're still got to recruit for that. Maybe on the other end, we'll come back to you. And I didn't have it in me to wait for a HR manager, so I actually applied. Oh, there I go again. I go and guess the sales manager's name, which you can find these days if you know how to do it on LinkedIn. And then I had to guess their email. So I found their name, but I had to guess their email, right? So you can do that as well. It's not that hard. There's software these days that makes life way easier. Back then, I didn't have that. And because I was living in New Zealand, it's an international number to Australia. So I actually had to get a Skype number so that I can communicate in my first round interviews. And you've got one shot in your first round interviews. If it's a phone interview, make sure that it's strong. Make sure you come in with conviction, with clarity, with confidence. If you're not ready for that first call, maybe stall it for another 3 to 6 months. Build yourself up. Nothing wrong with that. Build yourself up so that when you present yourself in the top dog category with their sales manager, you're not going to feel bad about yourself. And you know what I mean when I say that as well. Prepare so that the first line that comes out of your mouth, you're ready for them and they can hear it as well. So when we were communicating on Skype, I said, I really want to fly down, and I want to fly down on Friday to meet you. So we had a call earlier in the week. I want to meet you on Friday face to face. And then the manager on the other side said, okay, well, I guess we don't have a choice. We've got to meet on Friday. And the next thing that I did was, okay, if I'm going to go fly down to see sales manager on a Friday, then I want to make sure I bring my boyfriend, and I want to make sure that I position him in the front door so that I can actually use my boyfriend in the story. I can weave it in there as well. Weaving a story, becoming a great storyteller is very, very powerful. You can start with one story and build on your story. So now I have like a basket of stories to grab on at will. And so in the interview, in the final interview, I guess, I meet up with the general manager and also the sales manager. And it was just a very quick conversation. They said, tell me, why do you think, we're not even hiring at the moment here, but why do you think we want to hire you? And I said, I want you guys to hire me because I brought my boyfriend to stand at the front door, and it's Friday now. And if I don't get the good news, both of us are going to have to go home empty-handed. And I would like to start on Monday so I can give him some good news. And with that, the rest is history. And therefore, I started my work on Monday, and I ran hard for the next 5 years, literally. There is no such thing as having a rest when you work for a category king like such. Anybody who is a dominator or apex predator in your field, I don't care if it's software, real estate, any type of SaaS, is basically you're going to be pounding the phones for a very long time. And it's in your best interest to stay prepared and not get fatigued as well. But that's a later video. So I'm going to transition to 3 main things that I think is going to help you today in regards to, do you want to work for somebody like this? Are you prepared to work for somebody like this? And what are you willing to do to not only get the job, but also to keep the job as well? Okay, so let's move through to step number 1. This is what I call intentional planning. Before you actually get, these grandiose ideas in regards to which influencer or brand or, one of these big guys that you want to work for, maybe step back and have a look at, what does your dream life look like? So this is about you. This is not about who you want to follow or who you want to copy or anything like that. What type of dream life do you want to have for yourself? Okay, so this comes back to the night before. What time do you go to sleep dictates what time you wake up, dictates your structure, dictates your day planning. Are you a morning person, nighttime person? Do you like working out in the day, in the night? All these different factors. Then we move on to, what does your actual role look like? What kind of things do you like to sell? Do you like services? Do you like e-commerce? Do you like products? Do you like face-to-face? What kind of selling environment do you like? And the most important thing you want to ask in the next question, when it comes to career specifically, it's not really about how much money do you want to make, because the money will come when you get the skills. The most important question is, what type of a manager do you like to manage you? How do you like to be managed? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Do you like a lot of hand holding? You like a lot of training? Don't like too much training? Can you follow a script? How can I communicate to my sales manager that this is how I'm going to execute things? If I do it their way, or do I do it my way? How can I communicate this so we can build a better person, or a better rep, or a sales rep to actually execute on their idea? Because this is not about you. It's about you helping them to grow revenue, and indirectly you grow yourself. Does that make sense? So spend some time to actually, write down some of these questions so you're very clear about what it is that you're trying to do and who it is you're trying to work for. Because the worst thing that you could do, a 9-to-5 is not the worst thing that could happen to you. Wasting your time in a 9-to-5 is the worst thing that could happen to you. Sabri used to always say, if you can't give my business 100%, what makes you think you can give your business 100%? And I never forgot about that. That little nugget has stayed with me for the rest of my career inside of sales, which is 5 years. And then I retired myself inside of sales. So the next question, number 2, that you want to ask is finding your ideal founder. Like, who do you actually want to work for? Do you actually know, or is it just a fantasy in your head? So the fastest way is to have a look at your YouTube channel. Who are the 5 people that you follow right now that you regularly consume on a day-to-day basis? It doesn't have to be around sales. It doesn't have to always be the sales trainer. Have a look at the entrepreneurs that you like, the fitness, the athletes, whoever it is, the hobbies that you like. Are you a creative person, analytical, shares, stock market, all these different types of people? What kind of traits can you see? What kind of values do they like? And then that is more your personality. Okay, I have a very rogue personality. I'm a little bit more like a cowboy, cowgirl, loose personality. That's why I resonate with somebody like Sabri, because he's very similar to that. It doesn't really work when I work under somebody that's micromanaging or analytical, because I don't really get the creative sparring that I need for myself. And if you know that, that's going to make your life so much easier. So make a list of all the founders on the left-hand side. And then on the other side, write their values. What do they value in life? Do they like health? Do they like fitness? Do they like, smarts? Do they do this and that? A whole bunch of things that you can list. And the third thing that you can now go through. Now, the third and final step is actually, once you've landed the job and you've seen to actually get one foot through the door, now it's about keeping the job. There's no point getting a job and actually just going through the cycles and then you're actually not making it. Because in an intensive environment like working for an apex predator or a category king or a dominator in that specific field, it is very, very demanding. No such thing as a day off for at least 2 years. You're going to be sweating it for the next 2 years once you make it into the team. This is what we classify as a high performance team. And it's in your best interest to actually stay prepared. The 3 most important things that you can do in that 90-day period when you start working for any new job that you actually admire and that you want to stay with long term is, number 1, land your first sale or your first customer as soon as you possibly can. After the onboarding, after you get trained, start hitting the phones, build up your pipe, and start transacting those sales. Number 2, actually start to form a strategic alliance with your direct sales manager. Understand how they like to manage you and what their personality type is. It's a 2-way communications. I could not be doing what I do without my sales manager under Sabri Suby. So my sales manager was the most impactful person for me. And from there, I learned how to actually become a good leader. And from there, I actually mimicked very closely. When it was time for me to run my own team, I mimicked it off him because I had such a great relationship with him. And number 3, know your product inside out. Know the market, know the service, know who you're selling for, know your price, know your offering, know your guarantees, read your T's and C's that you're going to send to the customer. Don't make the customer say, hey, what does number 5 in T and C mean? Oh, I don't know. Well, you need to read that. Okay, so these are the 3 steps and also my backstory in regards to how I landed a job with Sabri Suby, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.